Howdy everybody. In this lecture, I'm going to take a few minutes and walk you through a couple important formulas that will help you figure out a few things when you're running your advertising campaigns. But I want to take a minute and step back and express why I think this is so important. Many people go into marketing and they don't have a good background in statistics, formulas, calculating ROI, things of that nature. It's not because there was any specific wrong thing that happened in their education or whatever. It's just not something that most college programs, educational programs in high school that people actually focus on and learn. But it's very, very valuable to know these formulas. And even if you don't know the logic behind the formulas, if you can't explain why dividing a number by a percentage results in this number, right? It's better if you could explain it in English and sort of understand the concept. But even if you can't, you could memorize a formula. You could memorize the formula for calculating percentage change between two numbers. And that's something which has personally been of great benefit to me. I'm not a math guy. I think many of you know that already. It does not come easily to me at all. I struggle with it. And getting into this business, I was much more into the whole creative side of things and marketing and selling. And that's what comes naturally to me. That's what I'm good at. But when it comes down to managing clients, whether you're managing a small client, but especially if you're managing a big client, if you're going to be an agency that people are going to trust, you have to be able to share information with your clients. If your client comes to you and says, our cost per conversion on form submissions are $9, our salespeople, filter out 10% on average of junk, and we close 30% of them, you need to know if your cost per conversion is profitable or not profitable. On the flip side, you need to know what your break-even conversion rate is going to be. You need to know if you know your conversion rate, what your break-even cost per registration is going to be. And if you know these formulas, and they're not overly complex, but if you just know how to do them, and you could share that with your client, you'll be amazed at how much perceived value you'll be bringing to the table. Trust me, we do this all the time at our agency. And I've hired a lot of people over the last few years, and probably only one out of lots of people, 30 people I've hired over the years, came in their first interview and was like, okay, she knew all these formulas, and it was unbelievable. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. Obviously, she works for us still today, and she's like the stuff of legends around our office. It's like when any client needs help with these sorts of things, when anybody in the office needs help with formulas and calculations, she's the go-to person. And she sort of carved out this space of extraordinary value and usefulness to the team and to clients. And you could do the same thing. I've forced myself to memorize formulas. I spent when I remember I was trying to calculate. I was trying to figure out a way to explain how to calculate your break-even return on ad spend. That's not what this video is about, which is a very simple formula. And I was trying to explain it in English and really understand why the formula made sense, why dividing by these two numbers got you your break-even ROAS, what ROAS was really telling you. So I wrote it down in a notepad on my computer. I researched it online. I saw how a few other people explained it. I wrote down a few different variations, and I spent a few hours just reading it over and talking it over to people in my office. I was like, am I explaining it clearly? And I memorized it. And after memorizing it, that's what helped me understand the logic of it. So I've done a good job at just working hard to memorize simple formulas that makes me sound like a better marketer than I really am. I mean, I think that's also what makes you a good marketer. If you're taking the effort to memorize the right formulas, it's very, very helpful. So I really encourage you to make a goal for yourself. Every week you're memorizing 2 new formulas, right? And not more than that, because it's going to get overwhelming. And if this is a new thing for you, memorizing these formulas could get confusing when you have a lot of different formulas in your head. So 1 formula or 2 formulas max a week, make a commitment to memorizing them. You find someone in your office, or you find a family member, you say, okay, listen, I'm going to explain to you why you need to have a cost per registration of this dollar value if my conversion rate is this and I want to break even at a $400 sale or whatever it is. And the first few times might be confusing or weak, but I guarantee you that over the next few days or a week or 2 weeks, you'll be in some situation at work or with a client on the phone or whatever, and you'll be so happy that you memorize these formulas, because your brain is going to start thinking of things in a totally different way. And it really it really makes a big difference. We have a call every day with a client at 11 o'clock, and it's a daily call. They pay us between $10,000 and $15,000 a month, depending on what their exact budget is and bonuses. And like, that's the purpose of the call. Like, we help them analyze yesterday's data, sales, close rates, number of calls. We have the whole template built out, the formulas, and it's like very, very valuable to them. It's not like a call about like, oh, anything extraordinary. It's like, listen, like, we're providing value as an agency, but not outside of the scope of just like managing your Google Ads campaigns and Bing and YouTube ad campaigns, which is what we're getting paid for. The daily calls are like, listen, we could have added value by just helping you understand the financial breakdown of your business and how things are going and profitability and where we're holding with our goals for conversion rate and our goals for cost per lead, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, this template's going to help you do that. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to give you a link to copy this template once we're done. Okay, so I'm going to walk through this as a webinar funnel, because that's something that's something that I'm personally dealing with now, as many of you know. Like, I'm spending a lot of money on getting registrations to a webinar, and I launched the campaigns a couple days ago, right? And I want to find out, where are we holding, like in my long-term plan, to actually be profitable? Is this realistic? So you can't just go and spend money. So the first day I spent, I don't know, $5,000. I think we're around like $9,000 of spend. We could check the, let's say this is today. We've spent already $3,400 today. And cost per result is coming down. But if you look at, let's say, the 13th, you know, we had $19 cost per registration. So that's where we started. So like, I was like, okay, we're getting a $19 cost per registration. Is this even, like, how far off the mark are we? Like, and you need to know that answer, like, exactly how far off the mark are you, okay? So let's say I take this number, 1985. So I know that I'm getting a registration to my webinar for $19.85. So I'm going to put that over here. So here's my first calculation, right? So in this top column, I'm going to say that solving for purchase rate, right? So in this, what I want to figure out is, if my registrations are coming in at that 1985, what does my purchase rate have to be? Like, what does my actual conversion rate have to be, right? So that's an important question you need to answer, because if it comes out that my purchase rate has to be 5% or 10%, I know it's totally unreasonable. Like, I'm not going to be profitable, and like, that's a question I want to answer. So here's a couple things that I know. I know my revenue per customer is $497, and there might be upsells down the road, but I'm going to go with $497 for now, because that's what I'm selling this product for. So I put that in here, revenue per customer, and you put in whatever revenue per customer you have. And this could be top line revenue, because in this specific scenario, we're dealing with a digital product. The profit margin is essentially 100%. Obviously, you have to account for your credit card fee, et cetera, and maybe there's other things going on, but you could also put in your profit per customer. That's totally fine too. And to get your profit margin, just different formulas. I don't want to get way late here. So you have your cost per registration. So right, we were holding at $19.85. Okay. Now I don't know my attendance rate. So the attendance rate is okay, the percentage of people that register for the webinar, that actually show up for the webinar. And this could be applied, again, to any multi-stage funnel. So this could be a webinar registration. It could be leads that are going into a CRM system where your salespeople have to call them back. It could be people that are downloading an ebook, and then from the ebook you're trying to sell them on a training, and then from the training you're trying to sell them on a product, right? What I'm showing you here could be copied and pasted, plug and play for any multi-stage funnel business model. Okay, what I want to do is figure out my break-even cost. So I'm going to do a target cost per sale of $497, right? So here's what I'm trying to figure out. I want to know that if I'm getting registrations for $19.85 and I'm targeting a cost per conversion of $497, I'm targeting a break-even cost per conversion, which is my revenue per customer, right? I want to answer the question, what purchase rate over here in column C do I need in order to be paying $497 for a $497 sale? So zero profit, break even, right? I want to know, like, what's my absolute minimum purchase rate I need to just not be losing money over the long term. So this is an easy thing to figure out. So we're going to leave out attendance rate for a second, right? So over here in this column, I do equals. I take my cost per registration, okay, 1985, and I divide it by my target cost per sale, and I hit enter, and that gives me that gives me an output that's not formatted in a percentage form. But if I want to do that, I simply go and click the percentage button up here, and I say, okay, I need a 3.99% purchase rate in order to get sales at $497 a sale. So if I want to be paying Facebook for $500, $497 a sale to generate $497 in revenue, I need to convert 3.9%, basically 4%. And if you want to just round it up, that's fine too. I need to get a 4% purchase rate. And I know that that's totally unrealistic, right? It's like, I don't think it's possible. It's very unrealistic to expect that 4 out of every 100 webinar registrants are going to shell out $497 for your course. It's just not, it's way above industry standard. I'm not saying it's totally impossible, but at least I'm getting a sense now that this is what I need. Like this would be break even. But let's say it gets a little bit more complicated because we're dealing with a potential drop off in attendance rate, and this is just another stage of the funnel. So the stage of the funnel goes a click on a Facebook ad, registration. From the registration, they have to actually attend, so there's going to be a drop-off rate there. And from the attendance, they have to watch the webinar and then actually buy. So it's a couple stages to that funnel. So in the attendance rate column, let's say I could play around with different metrics. So let's say I get an 80% attendance rate. 80% of people who register actually go and watch the seminar. So now I'm dealing with fewer actual people, so my cost per registration in effect goes up. So what I'm telling the formula is saying, well, I'm getting $19 per registration, but registration is not really what I'm looking at. I want to know the percentage of people who watch the webinar, how many of those people have to purchase in order for me to break even. So I could easily factor that in over here. So I go back into this formula and I just divide again by this 80% number. And that number goes up. So now I need a 5% conversion rate. So if I have an 80% attendance rate, I need a 4.9%, an additional percentage. And let's say it's 100. If it's 100%, it's going to go back to 3.9%. If it's at 50% attendance rate, I'm going to need around an 8% purchase rate. So let's say we go back to 80. So you can play around with that, and it's until you have all that data, it's hard to really know exactly. What's going on. But this is a very good predictive model. So like now I'm like, okay, this is unrealistic. I need to optimize these Facebook campaigns. I know with certainty that at $19.85, well, not with 100% certainty, but with a reasonable degree of certainty that at $19.85 per webinar registration, or in your case, it might be a form submission, or it might be a phone call, or it might be an ebook download, or it might be a newsletter sign up, or it might be a view of a key page, whatever that conversion action is. And when you copy and paste the sheet, you put that in however it is. But I've solved for purchase rate. Okay, so I knew my cost per registration. I knew I want my revenue per customer. I'm the cost per sale target, or we could do, maybe we should call this target cost per sale. My target cost per sale is the same as my revenue because I'm looking to see if I could break even here. And if I wanted to target a $200 cost per sale, you can put that in and look. It updates the entire formula. I would need a 12% conversion rate, 12.5% conversion rate to get sales at $200 a sale to be profitable in that range. But I was solving for break even, so I'm putting in the same number. So that's how you solve. But let's go down here and let's try to solve for something else. So first, I'm going to move this down. One second. I'm going to move this down a little bit, and up here we're solving for cost per conversion. In my case, it's a registration to a webinar. Okay, so now we're doing something a little bit different. So say I know, like in the first formula, up here, what we were trying to do was figure out what my purchase rate had to be. But let's say I have a target purchase rate. I sort of know realistically we're going to get like 0.5%. Okay, let's say I know that that's going to be my purchase rate. So I enter in my purchase rate. If you look over here is a formula. We were solving for purchase rate. Okay. Over here, we're putting in a purchase rate that we think is realistic, or we put in actual data. And in fact, yesterday when we spent around $5,000 or $6,000 in Facebook ads, our purchase rate was 0.5%. Okay, so I was like, all right, so if we don't get any better in the purchase rate, if my webinar doesn't sell any better, I hope that my webinar will get better, my content will get better, my email marketing campaigns will get better, so on and so forth. But let's say nothing gets better, right? I want to know at a 0.5% purchase rate, what is my break-even cost per registration? All right, and this is a multi-step funnel. Remember, we're gonna have to factor in this additional step of attendance rate because we're gonna get a drop off. So again, I put in my cost per sale. So my target cost per sale again is break even because I'm trying to figure out break even, and I can formulate that into dollar value. It doesn't really matter. So how do you solve for cost per registration? It's very simple. Instead of dividing the numbers by the percentage, we're going to be multiplying in this case because we're trying to get the target cost. So you do equals, we're going to put in our cost per sale multiplied by our purchase rate. Okay, $2.49. So now I know that if I have 100%, we haven't factored in attendance rate yet, but I know that if I have a 100% attendance rate, let's say, like there's no drop off between registration and watching the webinar, and my purchase rate is 0.5%, then my cost per sale is $490, and then my cost per sale will be $497. So look, so like this is a very helpful sheet, and this is something which is helpful for you internally, and this would be very, very impressive to your clients. You'll say, okay, like this is where we're holding now. At $19.85 cost per registration, we would need a 4.9% purchase rate. Okay, is that realistic? You start answering some questions. Can I increase the quality of my offer? Can I offer a free trial? Can I provide more value? What could I do to push my purchase rate up? Because if we're gonna, or what can I do to push this cost per registration down? And in most marketing campaigns, you have to do both. You have to increase your usability. You have to increase the quality of your landing page. You have to increase the product offering. You have to increase how well you sell it. You have to increase your copy, right? That's all going to push up your purchase rate. Those are the things like optimizing for the user experience pushes up your conversion rate. And then you need to optimize your marketing campaigns. So you got to be doing more dynamic creative. You have to be doing more A/B split tests on your ads. You have to be testing different budget optimization strategies in both Facebook and Google Ads, depending on where you're running your ads. There's all sorts of different things from a technical perspective, working on your click-through rate, working on your quality score. Those are all things that are going to push your cost per registration down. So in most cases, if you're off, you got to do both things together, and that's typically how you're going to find the best results. But down here, I know now that if I'm going to maintain a 0.5% purchase rate to break even, I got to get these registrations down to $2.50. So I know today we're at, in the two campaigns we have running, we're at an average of around $8 cost per registration, which is still probably way off from something that's going to be profitable unless I find ways to get more value and significantly increase my conversion rate. So if, let's say we take the $7.58, so I say, okay, we've optimized the Facebook campaigns. The Facebook campaigns are now getting, a very fair amount of registrations at $7.58. That's almost that's like 3 times as less as it was, 2.5 times as less as it was. So I could just copy that number. I can go back into my template, and now my cost per registration is $7.58. And that means I would need a 1.91% purchase rate. See this piece updated right here. We can make this, I don't know, make it blue to show that it's a formula. This could be blue to show it's a formula. So you see how useful this model is. So now, like, I'm not stuck inside my ads manager trying to like figure out formulas in my head or calculations. Like, I have a template that I could just quickly plug and play here very easily to give me a quick sense of where I'm holding with regards to profitability. So if my one second, we haven't included attendance rate yet into here. So I know now that, like, today at $7.58, I would need a 1.91% purchase rate, which is already getting more reasonable, but still that's 4 times what my conversion rate was yesterday. Like, what you have to also deal with reality. Like, the reality of the case is that my conversion rate so far is 0.5%. So if that doesn't improve, and let's say my attendance rate is also 80%, what would my cost per registration have to be? So it's very simple. We're gonna multiply this number by my attendance rate, and my cost per registration goes down. My break-even cost per registration goes down to $1.99. So if I have a 70%, and you can play with this, if I have a 60% attendance rate, I need a $1.49 cost per registration. If I have a 95% attendance rate, make sure you add percent, I need a $2.36 cost per registration. Again, and if I want to make a profit, right? So let's say if my target is $400, I need $1, and I have a 95% attendance rate, I need $1.90. If my target cost per sale is $400 and I have a 70% attendance rate, I need $1.40 cost per registration, right? And you can see how far off these two numbers are right now if this purchase rate doesn't change. So this is a template which is very helpful to you. I am going to let's call it multi-stage funnel profit formulas. And I'm going to save this and obviously give it this template to you inside the lecture downloads. And I want to reiterate how important I think it is to like use this and to and to show it to your clients. Like, let your clients see that you have the sophistication to analyze things in a meaningful and insightful way. And you'll see over time, your clients you'll have an easier time retaining your clients. You'll have an easier time actually improving the performance for your clients, and your clients will be a lot more impressed with you. You'll get more referrals, and these little things like memorizing formulas. And what we did here was not overly complex. Things will get a lot more complicated from here when you want to really build out templates that show time tracking and time lag and predicting the amount of conversion rates with an increase in cost per click from different factors and different metrics. This is pretty basic stuff, and I think that this is something that if you're not familiar with, any one of you could memorize. And even if you are familiar with it, just understanding that having a template and having it designed well and showing this to your clients is something I highly recommend. I hope that you find this very useful. I certainly am enjoying or are finding it useful at the very least, just to give you giving me a quick sense of where I am in a multi-stage funnel, and giving me a clear direction and aim. That's very important in marketing campaigns. You have to have an aim. You can't just be, okay, I'm going to spend a few $1,000s and we'll see what happens. No, I need to know where I'm holding, exactly how much money I'm making, exactly how much money I'm losing, but more importantly, which is what this template allows you to do, is where do I need to be to have the results that I want, or have the results that I need, or have the results my client needs. Cheers for now. I will see you guys all very soon in the next video.